Have you ever wondered what it would feel like if everything you wanted, peace, strength, success, started coming to you not because you begged for it, but because you became someone it naturally belongs to? Picture that. A life where effort feels aligned, not frantic, not desperate, just magnetic. But let's be honest, how many times have you felt stuck in place? Like no matter how much harder you push, the rewards you expect just don't arrive. You give your all, yet life keeps its blessings just out of reach. Here's the truth. It's not about grinding more. It's not about chasing faster. It's about becoming wiser. The secret isn't in chasing the outcome, it's in transforming yourself into the kind of person who attracts it. And that transformation begins with Stoicism. Because when you think like a Stoic, you stop reacting and start creating. You no longer move through life out of habit, but with intention. You stop waiting for things to change and start becoming the one who changes everything. Today, you'll discover 12 powerful Stoic truths, not just as motivational quotes, but as practical tools. Tools that don't just sound wise, but actually reshape your thinking, your choices, and your path forward. This isn't inspiration. This is a shift, a realignment with the kind of person you're meant to become. So before we begin, make a declaration. Boldly, drop it in the comments. Starting now, I am becoming who my future needs. I am Stoic. Say it again if you must. Whisper it. Believe it. Because the more you repeat that truth, the faster your reality starts to reflect it. Ready? Let's begin. Part 1. Want less, receive more. What if the reason you're not getting what you want is because you want it too much? That sounds backwards, doesn't it? After all, aren't we told to want it badly, chase it hard, push until it breaks? But the Stoics saw things differently. They didn't teach people to kill desire or pretend they didn't care. Instead, they asked the deeper question: what if you already have enough? Most people walk through life with a clenched fist gripping onto desires so tightly that they forget how to breathe. More money, more love, more status. But what if that grip is the very thing keeping it all away? Because the more you obsess over something, the more power it gains over you. And the moment it owns your peace, your clarity, your identity, you've already lost. You stop acting from strength and start operating from fear. Fear of not having, fear of being behind, fear of not measuring up. And in that fear, you shrink. The Stoic lives differently. They wake up each day with a quiet affirmation: I can lose everything and still be whole. That doesn't mean they're passive. It doesn't mean they sit still and wait for blessings to fall from the sky. No, they have goals. They pursue mastery, but they aren't emotionally chained to the outcome. Their self-worth doesn't rise and fall with external rewards. That's the difference. Think about how do you behave when you don't need something. You walk into the room calm. You speak without pressure. You make clear decisions. You don't chase, you choose. You're magnetic without trying to be. That's the paradox. The moment you let go of the desperate hunger, things start flowing toward you. But when you're clinging, whether it's to a person, a promotion, or an image of success, you lose your center. You try to control what isn't yours to control. And the harder you squeeze, the faster it slips away. Epictetus said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life." Not just freedom from chains, but from the inner prison of needing too much. So ask yourself, what's one thing you've been holding on to too tightly? Maybe it's recognition. Maybe it's a relationship. Maybe it's your image of who you should be by now. What would happen if you released it even just a little? Go even deeper. What if not having that thing is the exact lesson life is trying to teach you? Sometimes the things we think we need are just symbols. A certain number in your bank account might represent safety. A partner might represent worth. A career title might represent identity. But symbols aren't truth. The Stoic strips away the symbol and asks, what am I really searching for underneath it all? stillness, self-respect, peace of mind. The power to move through life with grace even when the world doesn't give you what you asked for. That's where true strength begins. When you stop tying your peace to whether things go your way. When you stop begging life to cooperate. When you stop letting your happiness depend on someone else's approval. And something fascinating happens when you do. You create space. Space for clarity. Space for movement. Space for unexpected blessings to arrive. Not because you chased harder, but because your calm became a signal, not a scream. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, but his serenity didn't come from his crown. It came from this truth. Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. Read that again. Few wants, not few dreams, not small vision. Just fewer things that control your mood, your mind, your meaning. You don't have to give up ambition, but you do have to unhook your identity from it. You're not your goals. You're not your results. You're the one who moves toward them with grace or with desperation. That's your choice. So next time you find yourself spiraling, chasing, clinging, stop. Ask yourself, am I pursuing this with power or with panic? Is this something I value? Something I'm addicted to? Then, take a breath. Step back. Return to center. Because when you want less, not performatively, but truly, from the core, life begins to offer more. Not just more results, but more freedom, more emotional space, more time to notice what actually matters. That is the Stoic reward, not achieving every desire, but transforming your relationship to desire itself. So when the world tells you to want more, chase harder, never stop hungering, pause, and answer like a Stoic. I already have what I need. Anything else is a bonus. And I do not beg for bonuses. Part 2. Transmute obstacles into leverage. Let me ask you something. When was the last time life threw a wall in your path? Not a gentle speed bump, a full concrete wall, a rejection, a betrayal, a closed door that made you stop in your tracks. Now, what if I told you that wall wasn't there to block you, but to build you? See, most people curse their obstacles. They see setbacks as enemies, but the Stoic, they see obstacles as raw material, not a reason to quit, but an invitation to evolve. Marcus Aurelius said it best, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." That's not just poeticence, a blueprint for power. Because here's the truth, the wall itself isn't the problem. It's how you see it. That same wall through, a different lens can become a ladder, a foundation, even a doorway to a path you never saw coming. You just have to look at it differently. Everyone faces hardship. Everyone hits resistance. But what separates the average from the unshakable isn't luck, it's leverage. The Stoic mindset doesn't ask, "Why is this happening to me?" It asks, "How can I use this?" Let's say your relationship ends. Your instinct might be to collapse inward, blame yourself, shut down. But what if that ending is the training ground for deeper self-worth? For boundaries you never had before? For discovering what kind of love you actually deserve? What if the rejection is a redirection? The Stoic doesn't lie and say, "It's fine." No, it might be brutal. It might break your heart. But their power is in what comes next. They pause, they breathe, and they lean in. Think of pressure. At first, it feels overwhelming. But pressure turns coal into diamonds. Resistance isn't a punishment, it's a process. Your muscles grow under resistance. Your mind grows under pressure. Nothing meaningful is built in comfort. Seneca said, "Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body." So why are we afraid of the challenge, when the challenge is the very thing that sculpts our strength? You face a storm and most people run. The Stoic walks into it. Because they know if you never lean against the wind, you'll never learn how to stand tall. Now, think about your own life. What's weighing you down right now? Is it failure? Disappointment? Uncertainty? Instead of resisting it, what if you repurposed it? Imagine a heavy iron door sealed, unmovable. That's your setback. But the Stoic? They drop down and use it for push-ups. Same door, new purpose. That's the power of perception. Most people pray for smooth roads. They wish life would stop testing them. But smooth roads don't sharpen anyone. Gravel trains your footing. Rain teaches balance. Challenge is the curriculum of growth. And let's be honest, life won't always be fair. You might lose people you love. You might get passed over despite your best effort. But none of that has to define you unless you decide it will. When others break, the Stoic builds. They don't need comfort to grow, they use discomfort as fuel. And here's the beauty. Once you master this lens, nothing is wasted. Not heartbreak, not failure, not delay. Every piece of pain becomes a tool, a lesson. A weight that when lifted makes you stronger than before. You've probably heard this. Life doesn't happen to you. It happens for you. The Stoic takes it further. Life happens through you. And the obstacle? It's not the enemy, it's the entrance. So the next time life throws a block in your path, don't ask, why me? Ask, what now? And from that question, let purpose rise. Let strength return. Let the block become the bridge. Because when you stop waiting for the obstacle to disappear and instead learn to move with it, you begin to master the very art of transformation. Part 3. Withdraw the spotlight. Let reality do the work. We live in a world that rewards the loud. Everyone's rushing to post, to prove, to be seen. Not just to do great things, but to be noticed doing them. Likes, views, applause, validation, all in public view. But the Stoic? He steps off that stage. Because he knows the more you crave attention, the more control you hand over to others. And when your value depends on how many people clap for you, you're never truly free. Here's a hard truth. When you chase the spotlight, you split your power. One part goes toward becoming better. The other part? It's wasted on making sure people see you getting better. That's the energy leak most people never notice. The Stoic sees through the illusion. They don't need to be seen. They need to be solid. They withdraw the spotlight, not because they're hiding, but because they're building quietly, consistently, without performance. Because when you're truly excellent, you don't need to announce it. Reality speaks for itself. Think of a tree. It doesn't post its growth. It doesn't shout about its roots. It simply grows, and one day without warning it blossoms. And suddenly, everyone notices. That's what happens when you stop chasing validation and start investing in mastery. You stop needing applause and start radiating presence. Seneca once said, "A great mind becomes a great fortune. Not a loud mind, not a trending one, a great one." Because greatness doesn't scream. It doesn't beg for attention. It doesn't perform. It simply is. Now ask yourself, would you still give your best if nobody noticed? Would you still show up fully if the room stayed quiet? That's the Stoic question. Are you doing it for applause or for impact? If the answer is for applause, you'll burn out. Because applause fades. But if it's for impact, for integrity, for alignment with your purpose, you'll rise steadily, rooted like a mountain. Marcus Aurelius ruled over millions, but his deepest wisdom wasn't spoken in grand speech as it was written in silence. Private reflections in his journal. No audience, no hashtags, no spotlights. Yet those words have echoed through centuries. Why? Because truth doesn't need a platform. It carries weight on its own. This mindset changes everything. When you stop performing for the world, you start aligning with what actually matters. You stop chasing short-term impressions and begin building long-term substance. And ironically, this is when people start to notice. Not because you shouted, but because you became undeniable. So, take a look at your habits. Are you posting to be seen? Or creating something that lasts? Are you chasing trends or cultivating timeless strength? The Stoic knows that what's loud today is often forgotten tomorrow. But what is quietly excellent becomes legacy. Withdraw the spotlight, redirect that energy inward, into skill, into consistency, into mission. Because one day, the world will look your way. Not because you demanded it, but because your work quietly earned it. And when it does, you won't need to speak loudly. Your presence will say everything. Part 4. Harness the law of inner economy. Imagine waking up every day with a full tank of energy, but by noon you're already running on fumes. You haven't done anything that physical. So where did all that energy go? Here's the answer no one talks about. Most people aren't tired because they've done too much. They're tired because they've leaked too much on things that don't matter. Your energy is a currency. Every thought you think, every word you speak, every emotion you feed it, all costs something. But the problem is, most people spend their energy like it's free, like there's no limit, like it magically refills without consequence. The Stoic knows better. They live by a quiet law, a sacred discipline, the law of inner economy. Your thoughts are not neutral. Your attention is not infinite. The mind, like a bank, has limits. And yet, most people start their day already in emotional debt. They wake up, grab their phone, and start scrolling through news they can't control, arguments that don't matter, stories that drain their peace. By the time they actually get to what matters, their work, their family, their calling, they have nothing left to give. The Stoic treats energy like gold. Every reaction is audited. Every response is evaluated. Before spending their attention, they pause and ask, is this worth it? Will this move me forward, or is it just noise? This is where real strength is built not just from discipline, but from discretion. Marcus Aurelius ruled in times of war, betrayal, and chaos. Yet his journals aren't full of emotional spirals. They're full of clarity. Again and again, he returned to the same principle. Focus only on what you can control. Because when you do that, you stop bleeding energy into black holes, things that can't be changed, and instead, you channel it into places where it can actually make a difference. Try this. The next time you find yourself overthinking a scenario, arguing with someone in your head, replaying a conversation that's already over, pause. Ask yourself, what am I spending right now? And what am I getting back? If the answer is nothing, cut it off. Let it go without guilt. This isn't about becoming cold or emotionless. It's about becoming selective. About protecting the most sacred asset you have, your state. Seneca once wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Why? Because we spend our peace on things that haven't even happened, on outcomes we can't predict, on people who aren't even thinking about us. The Stoic refuses that trade. They protect their peace like a fortress, and they do it quietly, moment by moment, thought by thought. It starts small. Before reacting, they breathe. Before replying, they listen. Before complaining, they observe. Before feeding anger, they ask, is this emotion useful, or is it just noise with a costume? Over time, this discipline compounds. It builds reserves, a surplus, a stillness so deep that the world's chaos can't shake it. Because when your energy is no longer scattered, it begins to concentrate. And in that concentration, power grows. That's when life starts to move in your favor. Not because you forced it, but because you stopped leaking power where it didn't belong. So the next time you feel pulled into drama, temptation, distraction, remember, your energy is not a donation. It's an investment. Don't give it away cheaply. Guard it, audit it, and spend it where it multiplies not, where it disappears. Because the Stoic doesn't burn out. They burn steady. Part 5. Make yourself unshakable, not unstoppable. Everyone wants to be unstoppable. It sounds bold, heroic-like, the kind of mindset that breaks barriers, defies odds, and wins at all costs. But the Stoic sees something deeper, something wiser. They know that unstoppable is a fantasy, but unshakable is real power. Because no matter how strong you are, no matter how determined or gifted, life will stop you eventually. Loss will visit. Plans will fall apart. The world will throw a storm right in your path, and all the momentum you've built, it won't matter if your foundation cracks. That's why the Stoic doesn't worship speed or force. They don't pray for endless growth without resistance. They train for the hit. They prepare for the pause. They root themselves in something so solid that when life slams on the brakes, they bend, but never break. Unshakable means this: even when everything around you spins, collapses, shouts, you remain still on the inside. Not numb, not detached, rooted. It's the tree in the storm. The wind tears through the branches. The leaves are scattered, but the trunk the core stands firm because its roots run deep. That's what Stoicism builds. Not a person who never stumbles, but one who never falls apart. Think about the world we live in. So many people are chasing movement more, faster, louder. They measure progress by how quickly they can climb. But when the storm comes, and it will, that kind of speed shatters. That kind of force burns out. The Stoic trains for the long game, for life's worst days. Take Marcus Aurelius. He didn't lead during peace. He ruled through war, betrayal, disease, and political chaos. And yet, he didn't unravel. He stayed calm, steady. Not because nothing touched him, but because nothing owned him. That's the core of Stoicism. Not control over events, but mastery over self. And people feel that. They may not be able to describe it, but they sense it. When you've built that quiet, unshakable presence, people trust it. They lean on it. Why? Because calm is magnetic in a panicked world. When everyone else is spiraling, your stillness becomes leadership. You don't even need to speak. You are the anchor in the storm. Now ask yourself, are you chasing speed, or are you building depth? Are you obsessed with being unstoppable, or are you becoming unshakable, rooted in character, not outcome? The Stoic knows that storms are not interruptions. They are the test. They are the mirror. They are the truth. So when things slow down, when nothing goes according to plan, when progress feels like it's frozen in panic, ask yourself, can I hold this moment without losing who I am? Because true power isn't how fast you run, it's how deeply you stand when nothing moves at all. And here's the paradox. When you stop needing to be unstoppable, you gain the kind of strength that nothing can stop. Part 6. Train desire to obey values. Desire isn't the enemy. It never was. The Stoic doesn't pretend to be made of stone. We are human. We want. We crave. We dream. But here's the real danger, not in having desire, but in letting it drive the car without a compass. Most people live that way, chasing whatever spark lights up in front of them. 1 minute it's fame, the next, money, then attention, approval. It never ends. They call it ambition, but often it's just a storm with no direction. The Stoic does it differently. They don't kill desire. They train it. They ask 2 simple but powerful questions. What do I want? And then, why do I want it? Because if your desire isn't anchored in values, it's going to drift. It's going to exhaust you. It's going to chase shadows and call it success. Let's break it down. You say you want applause, but why? Is it because you're proud of the work, or because you feel invisible without it? You say you want money, but is it truly about freedom, or Are you trying to prove something to people who don't even matter? You say you want love, but are you looking to share your sulfur to fill a void you haven't healed yet? That's what the Stoic dares to ask. Because when desire obeys impulse, it consumes you. But when desire obeys principle, it fuels you. And that's the switch. When desire aligns with values, honor, purpose, truth, it becomes a tool, not a trap. It moves you forward without enslaving you. It energizes you without burning you alive. Take applause. Most people crave recognition, but the Stoic sees applause for what it is: a shadow, a passing echo. It fades the moment the spotlight shifts. So instead of chasing being seen, the Stoic chases being solid. Let me be good, they say, even when no one's watching. Let me choose integrity, not image. Or take wealth. Many run after it blindly, but a Stoic stops and asks, what do I really want from this? And the answer isn't always about numbers. Often, it's peace, stability, the freedom to create, the ability to give, to build something meaningful. So they flip the chase. Let me create value. Let me serve wisely. And ironically, wealth often follows because usefulness is where true success begins. This is how the Stoic transforms the fire of desire into direction, into discipline, into design. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Let your one delight be the work of the human being, not praise, not riches the work. Because the work is yours, the values are yours. The outcome? That's extra." When you align your desire with your dignity, life becomes much simpler. You stop chasing, and you start choosing. You stop craving approval, and you start honoring your path. Now, look at your life. What do you want right now? Be honest. A breakthrough? Recognition? Success? Love? Then go deeper. Ask, is this driven by ego or by essence? Does this desire pull me closer to who I'm becoming or distract me from it? Because desire without values will burn you out, but desire rooted in values, that's power with a purpose. That's a life that can endure storms, that doesn't collapse when the crowd goes silent, that doesn't vanish when trends fade, because it was never built on noise. It was built on truth. Seneca said, "If one does not know to which port one is sailing, no wind is favorable." The Stoic knows their port. Desire is the ship. Values are the compass. And because they follow the compass, they stay the course. While the rest of the world crashes against the rocks of craving, the Stoic sails with clarity, quietly, consistently, and on purpose. Part 7. Channel the Logos through daily ritual. There is an invisible rhythm behind everything. The Stoics called it Logosa, divine intelligence, a natural order that governs the cosmos. You can't touch it, you can't hold it, but you can feel it in the tides, in the turning of seasons, in the quiet wisdom of sunrise. The Stoic doesn't try to control the Logos. They don't fight the current, they align with it. And how do they do that? Through daily ritual. Because here's the truth most people ignore. Chaos is the default of the undisciplined mind. Noise is automatic. But order is chosen. Order is crafted from the inside out. Think about nature. The sun rises and sets without drama. The moon shifts the oceans without noise. The trees don't rush, yet they grow. That's Logos. That's the quiet, eternal rhythm of things. The Stoic mirrors this. They bring external harmony into their inner life, not through superstition, but through ritual. Not routine for the sake of habit, but deliberate acts that tune their mind to something deeper. It could be a 5-minute morning reflection, a journal entry, a quiet walk without a phone, a moment of stillness before sleep. These aren't chores. They're not productivity hacks. They're anchor silent reminders. I'm not here to react. I'm here to align. Marcus Aurelius used to start each morning by preparing himself for difficulty. He didn't hope for comfort. He expected challenge. He wrote in his journal, You will meet people who are selfish, rude, angry. Don't be surprised. That was his armor, not to become numb, but to stay calm when others lost their way. That's ritual. It's not about being rigid, it's about being ready. At night, he did the opposite. Reflection, quiet auditing, not judgment, but clarity. Where did I stay grounded today? Where did I fall short? What can I do better tomorrow? That kind of consistent self-review becomes a compass. It doesn't shame you, it sharpens you. Now ask yourself, how much of your day is noise? How much is just reaction? Emails, notifications, news, opinions. Most people don't live intentionally. They respond constantly, like leaves tossed in the wind. But the Stoic returns again and again to the center. And they use ritual as a doorway, a tuning fork, a moment to sync their personal rhythm with the rhythm of nature. Because when your inner order matches the outer flow, life begins to feel smoother. Not because it gets easier, but because you stop resisting it. You've felt it before, days where everything clicks, the right words come, the right moment appears, timing feels perfect. That's not magic, that's not luck, that's alignment. On the other hand, when you're scattered, everything feels heavy. Even small tasks overwhelm. Even simple choices feel confusing. That's what happens when you're out of tune. So the Stoic builds a system. Morning, set the tone. Midday, reset if needed. Evening, reflect and realign. Not for control, but for harmony. Not for perfection, but for peace. Seneca once wrote, "Order your soul, reduce your wants, live in harmony with nature." That starts with designing your day, not just surviving it. With treating time not like a blur of hours, but as sacred ground you're walking on, one intentional step at a time. And over time, those small rituals, they become a bridge between your emotions and your principles, between your impulses and your wisdom. You stop chasing the day and start shaping it. You stop pushing against life and begin flowing with it. And that's the magic of the Logos. You don't force it. You don't demand it. You align with it, quietly, daily, faithfully. And when you do, something powerful happens. Life starts moving too, not all at once, but in rhythm, in harmony, and right on time. Part 8. Let silence make the first move. We live in a world that fears silence, where people talk fast, react faster, and fill every gap with noise. The pressure to respond immediately, post instantly, speak before you even think it's everywhere. But the Stoic doesn't play that game. The Stoic knows that silence is not weakness, it's not hesitation, it's strategy. Because true power doesn't rush, it waits. And when the world is screaming, the one who remains still stands out the most. You see, silence isn't the absence of action. It's the birthplace of wise action. It's the moment where emotion burns off and clarity rises in its place. Most people react before they breathe, but the Stoic pauses. They don't jump at every insult. They don't answer every challenge. They don't swing wildly just to feel in control. Instead, they create space. And in that space, something incredible happens. The ego calms down. The mind recenters. The truth becomes visible. Ask yourself, when was the last time you let a moment breathe before you filled it? Not because you were afraid, but because you were aware. Because here's the truth. The loudest person in the room is rarely the wisest. It's often the one who listens, who holds eye contact without rushing to reply, who chooses their words with precision, not desperation. That's the person everyone eventually turns to. Silence creates gravity. It builds mystery. It demands attention not through volume, but through presence. Think of the most powerful conversations you've had. Was it the rant that moved you or the quiet pause before someone spoke something true? Silence gives your words weight. It doesn't just make others listen more closely, it makes you speak more intentionally. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "You always own the option of having no opinion." Not because he didn't care, but because he understood that not every situation deserves a reaction. Not every provocation deserves your peace. The Stoic lets others rush. Let them blurt. Let them perform. They sit back. They wait. And when the noise dies down, when the smoke clears, they speak. And those words land like arrows. Calm, focused, necessary. Try it. The next time someone offends, you pause. The next time you're cornered with a hard question, pause. The next time your ego screams to defend its pause. Let silence stretch. Let it sort through impulse and wisdom. Let it reveal what's actually worth saying and what was just an emotional itch. Because once you master silence, you master the moment. Seneca said, "No man was ever wise by chance. Wisdom is slow. Wisdom is quiet. Wisdom waits." So when the world demands a reaction, you choose restraint. When others panic, you remain still. When others flood the air with words, you let the room breathe. And in doing so, you become the calm center in a chaotic storm, not because you have all the answers, but because you've learned not to speak until your voice carries truth. Let silence be your first move, then let wisdom choose the next one. Part 9. Starve what doesn't serve you. Most people think growth is about adding more knowledge, more habits, more strategies. But the Stoic sees it differently. True transformation begins with subtraction. Not doing more, but doing less of what weakens you. Less comparison, less drama, less overthinking, less self-pity, less time spent feeding things that quietly steal your peace. And here's the key. You don't always have to fight your demons. You just have to stop feeding them. Think of a fire. Even the most aggressive flame dies when you stop throwing wood on it. Emotions work the same way. Envy, anger, resentment. These are emotional fires. They thrive on your attention. They live off your mental energy. The more you argue with them, replay them, obsess over them, the more they burn. But the Stoic doesn't get caught in that cycle. They see the emotion arise and, instead of reacting, they step back. They don't wrestle with every thought. They observe it. They don't debate every impulse. They redirect it. Why? Because not everything deserves your energy. Not every passing feeling deserves a reply. Some things are best left unfed. This is what emotional discipline really looks like. It's not a war, it's a quiet refusal. It's the moment you feel jealousy creep in, and you shift your focus back to your craft. It's when you feel the itch to prove a point, and you choose silence over validation. It's when a bitter thought rises, and instead of inviting it to stay, you let it pass like a cloud across the sky. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That means your greatest power isn't in controlling what arises. It's in choosing what stays. Because every time you indulge a toxic thought, you feed it. And what you feed grows. You think you're just venting. You think you're just defending yourself. But in reality, you're handing over your attention like currency and getting nothing in return. The Stoic learns to say, "No, this thought doesn't serve me. This craving doesn't build me. This obsession doesn't align with who I'm becoming." And just like that, the parasite begins to shrink. Because that's what some thoughts are: parasites. They don't add anything. They don't build anything. They drain you, quietly, daily, without apology. So ask yourself, what thought have I been feeding that's actually weakening me? And then, here's the hard part: starve it. Not with aggression, not with shame, with silence. You don't kill a weed by yelling at it. You kill it by not watering it. And the space that's left behind? That's where strength begins to grow. In the silence where envy once lived, gratitude starts to breathe. Where fear once screamed, confidence begins to rise. Where distraction once ruled, focus starts to sharpen. You don't have to force it, you just have to clear the way. This is the Stoic path, not to deny emotion, but to filter it. Not to suppress what you feel, but to train your energy to serve something higher. And it's not easy. The first few days feel like withdrawal. Your mind will beg you to feed the story again. The loop, the victim narrative, the old identity. But if you stay firm enough, you stay still, it will lose power. Because the strongest version of you doesn't win every argument. He doesn't prove every point. He simply starves what doesn't serve. So the next time that bitter voice returns the doubt, the insecurity, the resentment, don't fight it. Don't fear it. Just turn away. Let it fade. Let it starve. Your peace is too valuable to feed your poison. Part 10. See time as a moral test, not a calendar. Most people treat time like a background process, just numbers ticking on a clock, boxes on a planner, days to cross off until the next weekend, the next paycheck, the next escape. But to the Stoic, time isn't just a tool, it's a test. Not a productivity test, a moral one. Because every hour that passes asks you a question, silently but powerfully. Are you honoring your potential or betraying it? That question changes everything. It turns your to-do list into a mirror. It forces you to stop measuring your life by how much you planned and start asking how much you actually lived. Seneca said it clearly, it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. Most people think they're short on time, but the Stoic looks deeper. The real problem isn't time, it's attention. It's intention. It's what you choose to give each minute to. Because when you believe time is unlimited, you get careless. You scroll for hours. You complain about delays. You postpone everything important. You say, I'll start tomorrow, like tomorrow is something you've already earned. But here's the truth. Tomorrow is a myth. The only contract you've signed is now. So the Stoic sharpens every moment, not with anxiety, not with panic, but with respect, with presence. They don't treat time like filler. They treat it like fuel, like sacred ground they walk on. Every moment becomes a moral decision. Do I waste this breath or do I use it to build something? Do I give this hour to distraction or to my destiny? Do I spend this time complaining or creating? This is not about hustle culture. The Stoic isn't rushing to burn out. They're not obsessed with being productive. They're committed to being aligned. They ask, is what I'm doing right now worthy of the life I claim to be building? If the answer is no, they adjust. Not next week, not next month, now. Because when you treat time as sacred, time begins to respond. Ever notice how some people seem to get more out of their day than others? They're not lucky. They're present. They don't waste their energy on regret. They don't wait for motivation. They act. And that action creates momentum. That momentum opens doors. That momentum attracts people. That momentum builds legacy. Because time, like the universe, favors the person who moves with purpose. So ask yourself, are you trading your hours for emptiness? Or are you converting them into character, discipline, depth? Because every minute is a vote, a brick, a building block in your future. You're not just passing time, you're writing a life. The Stoic doesn't wait until the weekend to be alive. They don't need perfect conditions to act with clarity. They don't sit around hoping for the right time. They decide that now is the right time because now is all they ever truly have. So the next time you're tempted to waste a day, to kill an hour, to wait until later, stop and remember, time isn't just ticking, it's testing you. And every choice you make is your answer. Part 11. treat the present like a prophecy. Most people walk through the present like it's filler, just a bridge between what already happened and what they hope comes next. They're either dwelling on yesterday's regrets or fantasizing about a future they haven't earned yet. But the Stoic sees something sharper, something more sacred. To the Stoic, the present moment is not filler, it's a prophecy. Because what you do now isn't just a reaction, it's a prediction, a declaration, a reflection of who you're becoming. Every word you speak, every choice you make, every thought you entertain, it's not neutral, it's a seed. And whether you realize it or not, you're already planting your future in the soil of this moment. That's why the Stoic doesn't wait for the new year to begin again. They don't wait for the right mood to act with discipline. They don't wait for clarity to start moving. They begin. And by beginning, clarity shows up on the way. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." That's not poetic advice. That's a strategy. He understood every moment is a mirror, and the way you show up now is how you will show up later. If you wait until things feel perfect before becoming the person you want to be, you never will. You want to be disciplined? Then treat this moment as a test of discipline. You want to be more grateful? Then practice gratitude now, even in discomfort. You want to be a leader? Then lead where you are with what you have, even if no one's watching. Because here's what most people miss. Your future self doesn't begin someday. It begins right here, right now. In the ordinary, unglamorous decisions you make when no one's clapping for you. Think about it. The way you handle pressure today predicts how you'll manage crisis later. The way you treat others today predicts the relationships you'll build tomorrow. The way you use this hour predicts the kind of life you'll wake up to in 5 years. And the best part? You don't need perfect conditions to change trajectory. You just need one thing: intentional presence. Because when you show up fully to one moment, just one night clears the fog from the next. You've felt this before. You stop scrolling, you sit down, you focus, and somehow time expands. Life feels more real. Energy returns. That's not magic. That's alignment. But the opposite is also true. If you live your days distracted, bitter, disconnected, don't be surprised when your future feels the same. Because every moment lived out of sync pollutes the one that comes next. That's why the Stoic filters the present. They sweep the floor before the next step. They take out the mental trash: resentment, distraction, emotional noise, so the road ahead stays clear. It's not perfection, it's direction. It's saying, this moment matters, because how I treat it becomes my habit, and my habits become my identity. So ask yourself, how are you treating this moment? Are you presenter, just passing time? Are you building, or just surviving? Because the present isn't disposable. It's not a rehearsal. It's not a placeholder. It's a preview of who you'll become. And when you finally understand that, something shifts. You stop waiting for the future, and you start shaping it. One breath, one choice, one focused, powerful now. Part 12. Become what you seek. Look around. Everyone wants something. Peace, strength, respect, freedom, a meaningful life. We chase these things as if they're distant stars, always just out of reach, always requiring more effort, more luck, more validation. But the Stoic offers a radical truth zone that flips the game completely. You don't get what you want by chasing it. You get it by becoming the kind of person who naturally attracts it. That means if you want peace, you don't beg the world to be quiet. You learn to quiet your own mind. If you want respect, you don't manipulate others to admire you. You live in a way that commands respect, even in silence. If you want love, you don't chase affection. You cultivate self-respect, empathy, strength, until love recognizes you without needing to be summoned. Because what you seek is not out there. It never was. It's a mirror, a reflection of who you could be if you stopped distracting yourself, stopped doubting yourself, and started aligning your actions with your highest principles. That's the final step. That's the summit of Stoicism. Not to collect wisdom, but to embody it. Not to talk about values, but to become the living expression of them. And here's where most people fail. They try to change their results, not their identity. But your life will never rise above the standards you've set for yourself internally. You can't fake alignment. You either are the person your goals require or you're not. Yet. But the beauty is you can become him. You can become her. Not overnight, but moment by moment, choice by choice, decision by decision. And that's where the Stoic thrives, not in the dramatic, but in the daily. In the way you show up when no one's looking. In the way you respond when tested. In the way you hold the line quietly, firmly, relentlessly. Epictetus said, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." So stop chasing peace. Be the one who creates it. Stop begging for clarity. Be the one who sharpens it. Stop hoping to be chosen. Be the one who chooses discipline, presence, and integrity every single day. Because the Stoic path isn't about becoming someone better. It's about returning to who you already are beneath the fear, beneath the noise, beneath the lies the world taught you to believe. You don't need to shout. You don't need permission. You just need to act in alignment with who you're meant to become. And if you ever forget that, come back here, to these 12 principles, to this ancient wisdom, to the reminder that the man or woman you're seeking is already inside you, waiting, watching, and ready. You've just walked through 12 Stoic principles, not as ancient theories, but as living tools, practical, powerful, uncomfortable at times, but transformative. Let's bring it all together. Want less, and life will give you more. Face the obstacle, and it becomes your path. Withdraw the spotlight, and let your reality speak louder than your words. Protect your inner energy, like it's your most valuable currency, because it is. Forget trying to be unstoppable, and build yourself to be unshakable. Train your desires to serve your values, not your cravings. Use daily rituals to stay aligned with the divine rhythm of life, the Logos. Let silence speak first, so that wisdom has space to answer. Starve the thoughts that poison you, and strength will fill the space they once occupied. Treat time not as a clock, but as a moral keystone that reveals who you truly are. Live every moment as if it's prophecy, because it is. And finally, stop chasing what you want and become the version of yourself who naturally attracts it. Because in the end, Stoicism is not about suppressing life. It's about directing it. It's about becoming the kind of person who no longer begs the world to change because they've already changed themselves. That is your power. That is your responsibility. And that is your path forward. So here's the final question. What would the version of you stronger, calmer, wiser doing today? Then go do that. No delay, no drama, no permission needed. And if this message spoke to you, don't let it fade into the background. Write in the comments, I choose the Stoic path. I choose transformation. Declare it, live it, return to it. If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel, turn on notifications, because here we don't just talk about change, we become it. And if you're ready to go deeper, visit the first pinned comment or check the link in the description to access the full guide. Personal growth, Stoic philosophy for modern life. Until next time, stay grounded, stay present, and as always, live stoic now.